As Grand Moff of Emperor Palpatine's galactic empire, Wilhef Tarkin was known as someone who notoriously and brutally suppressed lawlessness and dissent with unwielding ruthlessness, but also as an individual who was a military mastermind and contained a genius-level intelligence. But was Tarkin able to piece together and determine the true identity of Darth Vader, something that was known by only a scarce few in the galaxy? In this video expose, I will discuss why it is extremely likely that Tarkin knew Darth Vader's true identity over a decade before the events depicted in A New Hope. In order to understand why it is very likely that Tarkin discovered that Darth Vader had at one time been Anakin Skywalker, we must first consider that Tarkin was quite familiar with Anakin, due to the fact that they had fought beside each other when Anakin was a Jedi Knight during the time of the Clone Wars. During the Clone Wars, Tarkin undertook a mission to secure a strategically important hyperspace route, the Nexus route, which led into both the territory of the Confederacy of Independent Systems and the territory of the Galactic Republic, wherein he served under Jedi Master Even Piell. During the mission, Tarkin and Piell were attacked by the Separatists and ultimately captured during the assault. Tarkin was then taken to the planet of Lola Seiyu, where he was held prisoner at the Citadel, a prison built centuries earlier that was designed to hold renegade Jedi. To free Tarkin and Master Piell, the Jedi sent a rescue team comprising of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, and Ahsoka Tano, in addition to a number of clone troopers. Having broken Tarkin and Piell out of their cells, a plan was formulated by Obi-Wan for their escape from the Citadel, a plan that Tarkin openly disagreed with. Despite Tarkin's objections, the group split up, with Tarkin, Anakin, and Ahsoka heading for the old tunnel system of the Citadel. As they journeyed through the tunnels, Tarkin and Anakin engaged each other in conversation, wherein Tarkin admitted to Anakin that he had earned his trust, but that the same could not be said for the rest of the Jedi Order, since they were committed to tactics that proved to be ineffective. Anakin agreed with Tarkin, revealing his frustrations that the Jedi's tactics did at times prevent them from going far enough to achieve victory. Tarkin and Anakin came to have a mutual respect for each other in this regard. Ultimately, although Jedi Master Piell perished during the escape, Tarkin, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka successfully escaped from the Citadel and returned safely to Coruscant, wherein Tarkin commended the efforts of Anakin during the escape, and subtly insulted Obi-Wan by expressing his wish to see more Jedi with the military sensibilities of Anakin. But this wasn't the only encounter that Tarkin had with Anakin before the rise of the Galactic Empire. Later in the Clone Wars, following Tarkin's promotion to the rank of Admiral, Tarkin and Anakin crossed paths during the trial of Anakin's Padawan, Ahsoka, who was being tried in relation to the bombing of the Jedi Temple and also for the death of Letta Termund. Because clone troopers had been killed in the bombing, the Republic military had jurisdiction, whereby Tarkin headed the side of the prosecution, and if Ahsoka was ultimately found guilty, he would push for the death penalty. It was Tarkin who went before the Jedi High Council, and on behalf of the Senate, requested that Ahsoka be expelled from the Jedi Order so that she could be tried by a Republic tribunal court, a request to which the Council reluctantly agreed. Moments before the verdict in the trial was read to the court, Anakin arrived in the courtroom with Jedi Padawan Barriss Offee, who confessed to both the bombing of the Jedi Temple and to the murder of Letta Termund, due to her becoming disillusioned by the Jedi Order and seeing them as being the evil behind the war. Although Ahsoka's charges were dropped and she was invited back into the Jedi Order, she ultimately refused, as she felt betrayed by the Order as a result of the episode. Because of Tarkin's role in attempting to prosecute his Padawan Ahsoka, Anakin clearly was not a fan of Tarkin following this incident. These interactions between Tarkin and Anakin Skywalker during the time of the Clone Wars are crucial to Tarkin subsequently piecing together the fact that it was very likely that Darth Vader was the Jedi Knight who he had fought beside in the war, particularly given Tarkin's sharp memory and superior intellect. 5 years into the rise of the Galactic Empire, Tarkin already held long suspicions about the true identity of Vader underneath his mask and how he had come into being. Tarkin had the opportunity to grow more suspicious, as well as to start to solve the mystery for himself, due to the fact that in the early years of the Empire, he and Vader had been partners in numerous political and military campaigns. One of the first events that gave Tarkin the ability to discover Darth Vader's true identity, and to piece together the idea that Vader had been Anakin Skywalker, was during Tarkin's first introduction to the Death Star that was under construction at that time, wherein he was accompanied by Vader during the early days of the Empire. It was at this time that Tarkin became convinced through his interactions with Vader that Vader knew him better than he was letting on, and that he clearly recognized who Tarkin was. It was this belief that Vader knew him from previous encounters that tipped Tarkin off to the fact that they must have had some sort of interaction with each other in the past, and it was this perceived familiarity that first allowed Tarkin to suspect that Vader was Anakin Skywalker. But this was not the only event during the early days of the Empire that persuaded Tarkin to suspect that Darth Vader was Anakin Skywalker. Tarkin also observed and took note of the fact that Vader had a close and harmonious relationship with the stormtroopers who fought under his command. Further, Tarkin observed with keen interest the way in which Vader wielded his lightsaber. Although many might not think much of these details, Tarkin very likely used them to conclude that Vader had previously commanded clone troopers during the Clone Wars and had also been trained as a Jedi, which would have further allowed Tarkin to piece together the fact that Darth Vader was Anakin Skywalker, as Anakin fit both of these characteristics. Another important indication that Tarkin had very likely figured out Darth Vader's true identity was through a conversation that Tarkin and Vader had roughly 5 years after the rise of the Galactic Empire. Tarkin stated to Vader, "If we aren't willing to do whatever is required, then we risk losing what we have been mandated to protect." This may have been a seemingly unimportant line delivered by Tarkin. However, Tarkin knew that it was a paraphrasing of something that Anakin had said following the rescue that took place at the Citadel during the Clone Wars, wherein Anakin stated to Obi-Wan, "If we aren't willing to do what it takes to win, we risk losing everything we try to protect." Clearly, Tarkin was trying to persuade Vader by using a principle that had been stated previously by Anakin, and although it elicited no reaction from Vader, it further demonstrates that Tarkin very likely knew that Darth Vader's true identity was Anakin Skywalker. We also see that it's likely Tarkin uncovered the true identity of Darth Vader based upon the beliefs of Emperor Palpatine. The Emperor, who needed Tarkin and Vader on the same page and to have a true appreciation for each other's talents, suspected that a rift existed between them in the early days of the Empire, which had started and carried over from the rift created between Anakin and Tarkin during the time of the Clone Wars, particularly through the incident involving Ahsoka's trial. Importantly, this gives an indication that even the Emperor thought that there was a high probability that not only did Darth Vader recognize Tarkin, but that Tarkin recognized Vader as Anakin. Even more important, we see that 5 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, the Emperor had already assumed that Tarkin had puzzled out and knew that Darth Vader had once been Anakin Skywalker. This was not unimportant to the Emperor, nor could it be just a simple belief that he held. The Emperor could not turn a blind eye to this possibility, and had to be attuned to the situation, due to the fact that if Tarkin knew Vader's true identity was Anakin Skywalker, then Tarkin had to then also have concluded that Palpatine was Vader's dark side master, and therefore knew the true identity of the Emperor as well. Therefore, when the Emperor assumed that Tarkin knew that Darth Vader was Anakin Skywalker, we can take this position with some authority, whereby we can say with confidence that it's very likely that Tarkin knew Darth Vader's true identity. So there we go. Why it's very likely that Tarkin knew that Darth Vader was once Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi Knight who he had fought beside previously during the Clone Wars. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions? Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. If not for me, for Master Peel.